Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Breakthrough with me, your host, Tess Timmons. Remember, with Breakthrough, we are learning how to bring your dreams into reality. Today, I am interviewing Adrienne Rivera. She is the founder of Breath of Gold Breathwork certification, and she's also a business coach. How are you doing today?
Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I'm so excited, audience, for you to meet Adrienne. You can find Adrienne on Instagram. And recently I saw that you did a marathon and you're also taking dance lessons. Like, you're inspiring me.
Oh, thank you so much for staying along the journey and noticing all of those things. It's been a lot of fun.
We could also talk about, I think, in a second here too, like what kind of breathwork practices did you do during that marathon? Like that I find fascinating as well.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people ask about that with breathing and running. And I think there's so many styles of breath work. There are styles of breath work that you can do while running to prepare for running. But the main thing that I love is more breath work for clarity and breath work for emotional release. And that's something where it doesn't have to be a daily practice. It's usually once a week or even once a month. And then you're good. You do it, you have your clarity, and then you live your life, which I think is great because there's so many things out there and people get overwhelmed. Like, how do I know if I should do this practice? I already have a morning routine that I like. This is just a once a week type thing. And for me, my morning practice is running. I don't have a breathwork morning practice. And I think that's good for people to know. As someone who has like a breathwork business, you would think that I'm doing breathwork all the time. But really, I use breathwork to be a better version of myself, to enjoy my life.
Oh, I love that. Okay, I'm learning already in the first 2 minutes of this episode. That's great.
Yes.
So how I came across you was in July of 2024, and I took a course, Pathways to Prosperity, with Nancy Rush, and it was a 3-day event, and you were doing a class in there. And after I took that breathwork class and really opened up and practiced with you, I could feel my whole body relax. I felt like my mind was clear, and visibly I could like feel the strength of that. And so I signed up for a course with you. I think within that same month, I was so excited to take another class and be around you. When I went into that class, I didn't really have an agenda. I just wanted to experience more of that and feel good. But actually, by the end of the class, it became really clear to me, like at the end of a spin cycle class or at the end of yoga, that I had solved something within my mind, like you're talking about clarity. And I actually came up with the name of this podcast. So audience, this is so cool. It's like full circle right now. So I came out of that breath work thinking about breakthrough and how I wanted to help people to not have a dream in front of them that felt impossible or that they couldn't reach, but I wanted to take that idea of wish the world was like this, or one day it might be this, and to break through and grab it now and bring it into our present life. And all of that happened through the experience of a live session with you, and other people were on that live Zoom as well. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I love that story, and I got so excited reading your email and hearing that you had a huge breakthrough, no pun intended. And now that you've been able to create something amazing with it, and that story is a beautiful representation of the breath work that I practice for myself too. Like, I want to live my life, and breath work is the tool that allows me to get the clarity to make sure I'm on the right path. We don't just need a ton of million, things to do in the morning. I see all those funny reels where it says like 4 hours later, I'm done my morning routine. It's like, no, live your life, do what's fun. So I love that for you. And it's beautiful to see this podcast and have this full circle moment.
Yeah, it was really cool too on that Zoom. I felt very comfortable. There were other people participating as well. You gave options of turning your cameras on or off, but you also said it's great for you to be able to see us so that you can kind of read our reactions. We were able to lay down or sit up. I actually physically felt myself go through a lot of emotions. I had some tears that I shed. I laughed, I smiled, and I could feel all of that as my body was breathing and letting things go. And no wonder there was clarity, because I was able to shed a lot of stuff too. So yeah, I would highly suggest that people experience this with you.
Thank you so much. And what you just expressed was a perfect representation of what we try to deliver. And I always say that we practice personal physical hygiene, but what about our emotions? What about our emotional hygiene? And it's true that things that are unresolved in our minds take up a ton of real estate. And if we are not able to have space to think, we're not able to be present with those that we love. You know, we've got a lot of moms in our programs and they're not able to be present with their children. And I feel like the meaning of life is love. I've always thought that ever since my first business, Fit Through Love, where I was doing a lot of fitness stuff. The meaning of life is always love, and so we want to be connected to our hearts. And the style of breath work that you went through is called circular connected breath. Some people know it as conscious connected breath. It's the same thing. And with that, you're breathing into the heart space, and that also is activating the heart. And you're able to feel from that place of love. And often you can see things from the past from a new perspective. And then the things that used to affect you don't really affect you anymore. And it's really powerful, like you said, you know, in a group setting, you would probably think like, can I really get that much? But everyone gets a lot out of it. And I do believe that it's your intentionality, your ability to be present and want to receive something. Like if you go into it with that, I believe that people will get exactly what they're coming for.
That is really cool, because I'm also thinking about the fact that I didn't go into the session thinking, oh, I need to come up with the name of my podcast. I didn't have that thought process at all, but I had been pondering a name for my podcast that I thought of 5 years ago, but I wasn't sure it really fit anymore. So that totally makes sense that like now I was able to receive like the newer or the updated idea or what could really serve now. Yeah, that is so cool. Yeah, I find that fascinating. I was reading through your website, your Instagram, and getting to know more about you. And one data point that I found fascinating was 60 to 80% of people don't breathe properly. That blew my mind. Can you tell us more about this? And first, how do we know if we aren't breathing properly? Like, what are the signs?
This is a really good question, and it applies to everyone because we all breathe. If you're listening to this right now, you are breathing, so this is valuable information for you. I like to describe this as the breathwork triangle. And if you look at our logo, there's this beautiful golden transformational butterfly, but behind it, there's a triangle. And at the top, it's proper breathing, which I will explain in a moment how we should be breathing properly. And then at the bottom, in the corner on the right, I visualize down-regulating breath work. This means it regulates our nervous system. It brings us down. If we're feeling stressed, it brings us into a parasympathetic state. It's great for sleep. It's great for athletes. Usually incorporates a lot of nose breathing and long exhales, really focusing on the exhales and really slow. Slows everything down. And then on the other side, we've got the circular connected breath. We've got the more upregulating styles of breath work, which is what I explained that I mainly practice. And we really don't need to do it a whole lot. If this was, a fitness analogy, this would be like sprinting on our nervous system. Like, you don't need to sprint every day. Like, maybe once a week if you're a runner, maybe once a month, but not every day, or else like you would overdo it, right? So less is more when it comes to that. And I think it's important to note, too, that when we're practicing circular connected breath, often for people without contraindications, we're breathing in and out through the mouth, high up into the chest. Yes, we are using the diaphragm, but it's going so deep with the breath that we're breathing in 100%, and that chest also rises. So that is actually the opposite of how we naturally breathe. And so that's important for people, because many times people will come to my breath work and they'll be like, I didn't know that that's how you should be breathing all the time. It's like, no, please don't. Don't breathe loud through your mouth all the time, or else people will be very annoyed, very annoyed with you. That's only for a specific experience, to have an emotional release, to gain clarity, and to have a spiritual experience. We don't need that all the time. So that brings me back to the top, which is proper breathing, the top of this triangle metaphor.
Okay.
And we want to breathe about 5 to 6 seconds in, about 5 to 6 seconds out on each and every cycle of breath. Most people breathe around 20 breaths per minute. It ranges. It could be anywhere from like 11 to 33. In my breathwork facilitator program at Breath of Gold, we have this fun exercise where we'll actually time people for 60 seconds and see like how many breaths are you actually taking. Most of what I see is around 20. And that's already like 4 times faster than what is recommended, which is about 5 to 6 seconds in, 5 to 6 seconds out. Ends up being around 6 breaths per minute. So it's pretty slow. We're breathing in and out through the nose, and we're using our diaphragm. The diaphragm is the breathing muscle located underneath the ribs, and it looks like an umbrella. And how you know if you're using your diaphragm is you place your hands on the lower part of your belly, on your ribs, like on the sides, and then you breathe in slowly, trying to press your hands out laterally. And if it inflates like an accordion, you're doing it right. And you can even place your hands on your low back, and you can kind of feel movement there too. So sometimes when you hear proper breathing is belly breathing, that is correct, but it's a bit of a simplification to not have to describe the mechanics of the diaphragm. But yeah, so many people wonder this. They're like, wait a second, so why is it that natural breathing is the opposite of the breathing that you teach? Like, what's going on here? Well, some of the benefits of proper breathing, which is in and out through the nose, is that nose breathing filters the air. It produces nitric oxide, which is important for us to feel more calm, more at peace, reduce stress, lots of benefits. And overall, it makes our body feel safe enough to do proper functions correctly, like digest our food, sleep well at night, essentially have a regulated nervous system. However, sometimes we really need to shake things up and have a little bit of a cathartic moment to get to those breakthroughs that we're looking for. If we just meditated for the rest of our lives and breathed through our nose, we would not really have much clarity. Like, I don't believe that, I believe that when we're looking for a big shift, we have to shake things up. We have to do things differently. We have to change our state. And that's really what I teach people. I guide them through an experience that changes their state, gets them out of their normal thinking, and connects them somatically to their body so that they're feeling their thoughts rather than just feeling lost in their head. And I bet you everyone here listening can think about times where maybe a loved one asked you, what are you thinking about? I know my husband asks me this all the time. He says, Adrienne, what are you thinking about? I can tell you're thinking about something right now. And, I'm thinking about business. What about business? I don't really know. I'm just thinking about business. Like, it's literally going in circles like a broken record, and you can't get any clarity. You're stuck in your mind. So that's why I believe we need something like breathwork that sometimes shakes things up a little bit, creates a change in our nervous system, creates a change in our body so that we feel more. And with that level of somatic sensation, somatic awareness, more comes through that we can't necessarily be aware of in our conscious state. Breathwork isn't the only thing that can get us there. Like, journaling can provide clarity and, get us out of the monkey mind, but it is a really beautiful tool to get us into the body and has helped so many people. I think my favorite was a woman who said that it felt like 10 years of therapy in one session. It would take you years to catch up a therapist on all of your life. You're the only person who knows everything that's ever happened to you. And she was able to be from this higher self perspective and connect the dots around why she was the way she was, where things stem from in childhood, find forgiveness for herself and for her parents, and really move forward. It was super beautiful.
Wow, that's amazing. And to also know that, like, I can be in charge of healing myself. I can move myself through that process and get through it with the breath work rather than going and talking to someone else. And that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're a teacher, you're a healer. Look at all these things you do.
Thank you.
After I ask you a few more questions, would it be possible to do a sample of breath work today so we can experience that? Or could people log in and work with you on that?
Yes, I really would love this. I don't think I can share music on here, though. Can I?
Yeah, I'll be putting it on YouTube, so I don't know if it depends on
Mm,
the
yes.
songs that you play.
I will
Yeah.
say that I do prefer the the non-YouTube friendly music, the one that sounds a lot better. So what I can do is I will offer people a way to try the full breath work for free if they want the full hour-long journey.
Oh,
So yeah, I'll give away a
wow.
freebie at the end.
Oh my gosh. You'd be crazy not to do this. Please do this. Like it changed my world. That's how I started with this podcast. Okay. So I kind of want to get into two things. I'm having a hard time deciding. So I do want to hear about like Breath of Gold. How did you come up with the name of your company? Because the breathwork with you inspired my name. And it seems like with all of this clarity, it is a gold mine in our own perspective. It can clear ourselves and heal ourselves. So yeah, how did you decide on the name of your company?
Yes. So I love this question because part of me has no idea. When you're really connected and you're living a fun life and you're so creative, life moves so fast that you kind of look back and you're like, wait, how did I do all this? I look back and I'm like, how is it that I have the Breath of Gold journal, the Breath of Gold Oracle deck, and Breath of Gold? Really, Breath of Gold was this side project, side hobby that was like my passion that I was building while I was mainly seeing myself as a business coach. And then kind of like overnight, the breathwork certification just blew up and totally became the main business. And it happened so fast. And I hear other people who've had a lot of success to share that there's a similar like blur where you're just in it, you're living it, you're immersed in it, and you're like, what just happened? Kind of like if you were like dancing with your soulmate to the most beautiful song all night and you're like, what just happened? I don't know. I feel cosmic right now. It's kind of like that. What I do remember is
Wow.
being in a Starbucks with my journal, writing down about 100 possible names. And I was totally thinking from my head, I was thinking like, what's smart? What could I do out there? And I did land on a name called Embodied Breathwork. And I have a very clear memory of then looking this up and being like, does this already exist? And I found someone who had the business name Embodiment Breathwork. I'm like, well, that's really similar. I don't know. I'm a woman of integrity. Like, I want to actually reach out and like see, is this too similar? And so I
Oh,
remember messaging the woman on Instagram and telling her I wanted to start a breathwork business and that this was the name that came through, but I don't know if it's too similar to hers. And she was so sweet and she said like, thank you so much. I really appreciate you like for being in integrity and asking. I do feel like it is too similar, but I know that you will find the name that's meant for you and I will be sending you that energy. And it was just such a
cool.
lovely interaction, and I was kind of bummed in the moment, but now I'm so much more grateful because Breath of Gold is so unique. And while I don't really remember where it came through, it probably came through in breathwork. Such a blur. It did not come through in journaling, that's for sure. At least not in that session. I remember that was not one of the options. And it's so fitting because so many people, they see gold, they feel abundant, they feel like this light energy, golden white healing light. And many people feel this in breathwork in general, but especially the breathwork that I lead and teach. And many people say they've been to breathwork where it's like so deep and heavy and cathartic that like they're a little bit afraid. They don't know if they really want that type of experience all the time. And I've gotten a lot of the feedback with the energy that I bring that it's lighter. It's like angelic is the word that they use. It feels abundant, high vibe, golden. And one of our taglines that dropped in randomly, maybe in a breathwork, is connecting to wealth and wisdom within. And how that really inspires me is because before I found breathwork, I felt like everything I was looking for was outside of myself. I had overcome 6 years of binge eating disorder where I was using food for comfort to try to fill this void. And I thought, well, people aren't always there for me, but food's always here. And it was this negative relationship rather than seeing it as fuel. And I was using shopping, again, to try to fill this void, like going from man to man, thinking that pleasure was in a man. And in my first breathwork session, I had tears streaming down my face. And the message that I heard was, everything you're looking for lies within your breath. And
Wow.
it was so profound because it was like this somatic release where I felt so much pleasure. And up until that point, it felt like there was this escaping energy. Like I would have rather known everything about everyone else except for myself. I was bored with myself. I thought, oh, there's nothing for me here. Let me go see the world. And the breath was like, no, this is your home. This is your body. There's like a whole world in here. Be with yourself. Be present. When you're fully with yourself, you can be more with everything around you. So lots of spiritual insights came through.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. So many lessons can be learned in that. That's great. Oh, okay. I could talk to you for hours. This is fascinating.
Thank you.
So not only are you leading a breath work, you have certifications, you've created oracle cards. Like I've also noticed on your Instagram, you've written a collaboration text, Breath of Gold, that launched December 30th of 2024. Can you tell us about the experience of writing it? And you also created that as a collaboration as well?
Yes, this I remember. This was about 1 year ago exactly. Like 1 year
Okay.
ago exactly, I was on a call with a friend. I think it's so important to have friends that are successful, that believe in us, that hype us up. And I told him, like, I don't really know what my goals are for this year. I have this book that I wrote, true story. I have written a business coaching book. And I'm like, I don't know, it needs a little bit of editing, but like it's technically done. Maybe I should just check that off my list and launch this book. He's like, no, don't give away all your secrets. Like, no, like the world is not ready for that. Like, I feel like there's something else. And then I told him, well, I have this idea because everyone always has these cosmic, beautiful, spiritual journeys and breath work with me that I always say, like, wow, that should be a book. Like, you just shared so much wisdom with the insights of what you saw, what you felt in that, and the world should learn from you. And so I thought about, like, wow, how cool would it be if I led a retreat with breath work and becoming an author? And there's no pressure because you're not coming in like having to create a story. There's this spontaneity where you're coming in knowing you're about to change your life and then write about it. So I told him, like, yeah, I kind of want to do this book writing thing in Sedona and like have a bunch of people come to a cool thing, like a cool house, retreat house, and we co-authored this breathwork book called Breath of Gold. And he just looked at me and paused and said, Adrienne, that is the best idea I've ever heard come out of your mouth. And he's heard a lot of ideas. So I just took that as confirmation to be like, okay, I'm going to run with this. So we did the Sedona retreat. Total dream house vibes. I actually have a real picture on my vision board that looks very similar to the front of the house that I chose. And we had the most beautiful experience. Writing is one of the best ways to integrate breath work and really take the lessons and absorb it and slow down. So people got a lot of healing in 4 days. They changed their lives. And then I thought, I kind of want to open this up to other people too. So I led some breath work online. And I marketed it in this way, like, hey, you're about to change your life in 2 virtual online breathwork sessions, and then you're going to write a book about it. And some people just felt this call, like, wow, I need to be a part of this. And one woman in particular, Rachel Gossett, I really resonate with her because of my history of healing, 6 years of binge eating disorder. She came to me in my breathwork certification. She was already in it. And then she saw this invitation. She said, well, you know, if Adrienne healed completely from this eating disorder, I know it's possible for me too. And if Adrienne has gotten so much from breath work, I know it's possible for me too. And she's a mom of 4 lovely kids and has struggled for over 30 years with body dysmorphia and eating disorders. And in 2 breathwork sessions, virtual, in a group setting, the same setting that you came to, the same Sunday breathwork, she was able to get to the root cause of the 30-year eating disorder and completely release it. That second one was like the last dust, getting it out of her body. And
Wow.
now her message is healing is possible. That's totally shifted her business. Before she was doing a lot with Reiki, and now she's really helping women with eating disorders and healing that and knowing that there is always a root cause that we can get to. We can really set ourselves free. So I love the book. I think everyone should read it. But the part that I love most was just getting to be a part of witnessing all this healing. And when you're so intentional, like all these authors are like, okay, the assignment, I understand, is to go in and heal myself. And when people show up for breath work like that, like I am here to heal myself, they get way more out of it. And we can think about that with everything we show up for in life. You know, we can spend an hour in the gym and we can look at the clock and we can scroll our phone for half the time we're there. And we can try with 20% effort, or we can be super intentional with like, why are we here? What's the gains? What's the purpose? You know, and really get a lot further in life. We all have the same amount of time, but what we do with that time changes based on how present we are and how intentional we are.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, and when I went into the session with you, I wasn't nervous. I'm not focusing my energy on what do the other people think or is this going to work. So yeah, really giving it my all. I'm here. I signed up for this. What can I gain? Like, let's have this experience. That's brilliant to think that way. I want to read the book now. How amazing to hear
Yes,
all
you
these
should.
different
It's on
stories.
Amazon.
Yes, I'm checking it out. Fascinating that all of these different women who have had such miraculous healing with you, like 10 years of therapy, don't need it. All of these issues with eating, don't need it. And that really we can find it within. I think that also tears back to how you make people feel, right? It is angelic. It is light. I felt very safe with you. I felt like I came away with happiness and a lot of healing, but a lot of hope. But not only hope, I was very excited. Like, yes, I've got the name of my podcast, and then started it within those next couple weeks, and now I'm over 13 episodes in, and just feeling confident to reach out to different people and interview them. I'm not sure if everyone knows about oracle cards. Can you give us a little bit of information about that? I received some oracle cards from a friend of mine and then started using them. But can anyone use them? Is this a certain practice that only is it a religion? Is it a motivation? Am I allowed, quote unquote, to use these? I feel like are some questions that people might have if they're new to that.
It's a great question. So, oracle cards are different than tarot cards. To be honest, I don't know much about tarot. I don't think there's anything wrong with tarot. Some people are like afraid of tarot. Tarot, I know, has a specific type of cards. Every deck has different art, but it has like all the cards are the same, and all of them mean like the same thing. Whereas an oracle deck is similar. It is a deck of cards, but usually there's a certain theme. So you can have, like I have one oracle deck that I did not create, but I own it, called the Power of Surrender. And each card like lets you let go of something. There's another deck that I have called the Embody deck that my friend Himalaya came up with, and that one, each card gets you to connect to something that you're looking to embody. So those are kind of examples. And so for me, I created the first ever, and I believe it's still the only ever, Breathwork oracle deck. And it is designed with the intention of helping you find clarity before your breathwork journeys. You don't need to just do it before breathwork, but each card is breathe in something. So breathe in love, breathe in connection, breathe in collaboration, breathe in inspiration, breathe in physical strength. Like those are some of the cards, and it's on my website as well, breathical.com, if anyone wants to check out the oracle deck. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, you pull a card randomly, and then there's a little guidebook where you can read about it and see, you know, what the message is for you and how it resonates. So you can see it as like an invitation for inspiration. Like, what may I not be seeing right now? And many people believe that, like, oh, it's the angels or it's the divine that's helping you choose the cards. I do believe that everything is unfolding perfectly, beautifully, divinely, with a lot of lessons. So I always resonate with the cards that I pull, and it gets me thinking about something differently. So yeah, you just pull whichever one you think is calling to you, and you read it. It doesn't have to do with any religion. Everyone's allowed to use it. It's just simply an invitation if you want to see and play with what you want to connect in with, particularly with your breath.
That's fantastic. So again, kind of helps with that intention before you're going in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I find oracle cards to be fun, and also, yes, it takes me out of the box and gives me a different direction to look at something. So yeah, okay, that sounds really cool. Did you how did you go about the process of designing? Did you self-publish that? Like, it sounds like you surround yourself with other people who are creative and successful and positive, that uplift you and support your ideas. Like, yes, go write that book, go to Sedona. And then how do you take those next steps? Like, if we're breaking through to something, like, had you made oracle cards before, and how do you research that, and how do you keep the courage of, like, this is a great idea, I'm going to keep going with it?
I've always been creative, and when I allow myself to connect with that, I just run with it. And momentum really is the key to success. I remember a past mentor saying this as well, and part of myself being a little annoyed that this is true, because I'm like, but wait a second, what if I want to build my business and then take a pause? And I have done that before, and I'll be honest with you, losing all momentum requires restarting all the momentum. And the way to restart it, if anyone's feeling a little bit burnt out or lack of clarity, is to find what lights you up and allows you to be connected to your own creative spark. When you do that, for me it's dance, you're not actually burnt out. I mean, yes, you can actually be burnt out. Adrenal fatigue is a real thing. All of that is true. But many times we think we're burnt out, but we're really just bored. And we're bored with ourselves, and we're working too hard on one thing, and we're forgetting who we are, and we're forgetting what else we came to be a part of. So if I would have known what it took to publish an oracle deck, I never would have done it. It was like, whoa, like, it took a lot. It's expensive to publish your own oracle deck, to have them all printed and everything. But in some ways, it's good to not really know everything. And the baby entrepreneur version of Adrienne didn't really look things up. She just went for it. Like, okay, I'm going to do this. I have the idea. Let's go. And now I do research things a little bit more to really see, like, is this worth my time? Cost benefit analysis. You do have to do that more when you grow because your time is limited. But in the beginning, I could have built anything. I could have focused on anything. And I am glad that I have the Oracle deck now because, like I said, it's like the first ever Breathwork one. It's super cool. It's a cool gift for people. People love it. It's a lot of fun. A lot of our facilitator graduates buy the deck and then use them in their in-person classes. So it's a fun thing for sure. Took a lot. I manifested finding the most perfect graphic designer. And actually, I went through 2 graphic designers. The first one was not great. She did like 20 cards. And then my online business manager at the time was like, Adrienne, I love you. And I think the person who's designing these cards has depression because, like, these cards are not love and light. Like, these cards are dark. And she's like, I'm not feeling that this is your energy. And I just got to be honest. And I'm like, thank you so much. So then I found another one. And she totally hit the vibe. The vibe is like abundant, interesting, chic, curious. It's like up to date and also artsy. It's very creative, very much like graphic design created. And then I wrote all the cards. So yeah, found the designer, wrote the cards, got them printed, self-published, all a whirlwind, and just took action. For anyone listening, I think it's good to ask yourself, like, where are you at in business? In the beginning stages, if you have time, do whatever comes your way. Like, there is a little bit of, like, I don't want to say throwing spaghetti at the wall, but like following your passion to see what you like, just like when you're young and you're in school and you're like, yeah, let me try swim team and see if I like it. Let me try art class and see if I like it. Let me try hip hop dance and see if I like it. That's kind of the phase that you're in. So allow yourself to play because you're not going to get it right on the first try. Don't even try. Breath of Gold may evolve as I evolve, especially in the next decade or next decade, because the only thing constant in life is change. But I think people are afraid of that and they want to get it right the first time. They think, oh, if I'm going to build a business, it has to be right. Well, the only way to get it right the first time is like to buy someone else's business that you may not be passionate about that already works, and then just commit to that job the rest of your life. Like, that's the only way to get it right, because if you have your own thing, it's going to evolve, it's going to change, and that's beautiful. Let it change, let it evolve. One of the mistakes that I almost made early on was creating the lie in my head that I had built my business up too far to change it. And that was Fit Through Love, my fitness coaching. I thought to myself, everyone already knows me for fitness coaching. Like, I can't change. And that was such a limiting belief. And looking back, my business was puny. I felt like I had grown a lot, and I felt like I'd been in it for a long time. But really, there was so much more success waiting for me. And I've seen that happen with people who've already created like millions of dollars in their business, and they have this other idea over here, and sometimes you need a pivot. So I think the best thing is to stay alive, stay connected, have fun, and remember why you're doing it. You know, it's fascinating because I will say the beginning of my business was fun, but there was also some unhealed things like that I still needed my breathwork journey for. There was a little bit of lack of worthiness, trying to prove myself, trying to be successful so that my parents would love me more. Turns out they don't care at all. Like, they just want me to be happy. And most parents, I feel like, want that. Whether you feel that they want that or not, they genuinely want you to be happy. And I feel like that's the important thing of life. We don't know how long we're going to live on this earth, so we might as well enjoy every moment of it. Yes, money does matter, but true success is not just how much money we make. It's also the lives we change. It's how fulfilled we feel. It's our creative expression. And another thing that I'll say is that a lot of people get so hung up on like trying to find my life purpose. We are all so multifaceted that there is no one life purpose. I believe that everyone has the same life purpose, and it's simply to be love. So you can be love as a janitor. You can be love as a spiritual business coach. You can be love as a breathwork facilitator. You can be love as a podcast host. Anything that you want to do, as long as you're being love, you're in your purpose. And it's okay if the occupation changes. It's more about how you feel. And my perspective with like making money and growing the business is like completely different. It feels a lot more long term with where I'm at. And it's so important to have fun because we're way more than just our business. And I think in the beginning, I became the business. Like, that was my identity. And a lot of my entrepreneur friends were the same. Like, all we would talk about was business. And now I'm kind of in this phase of like, there's so much more to humans that are way more intriguing. You know, like creativity, like dance, like expression, like intellectual conversations, and business is only one small aspect. So I think it's important to expand upon that. And then there's one other thing too. I mentioned I still had traumas to heal.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we avoid the healing because it feels easier to work hard from a place of still having trauma. Like, I will admit, once I healed, I don't know if I healed everything. There's always layers. But once I got to a point where I'm like, I really genuinely know that my parents care about me and they do not care what I do. They do not care if I quit my business and never work a day in my life. Like, they really do not care. And I feel 100% that they love me unconditionally and that I love myself unconditionally. I will be honest, it was a lot harder to work the way that I used to work. Like, some days I'd be so ready to crush it that I'd be like 12-hour days, let's go on a Saturday, you know, and I'm following my passion, but also I'm like, I want to be successful. I want to crush this, you know, and I still have that. But now it's like, I'm not going to sacrifice dancing. I'm not going to sacrifice painting. I'm not going to sacrifice evenings with my husband, eye gazing, and having candles on in our house. Like, it really is those little moments in life that make it worth living. And the business is just one perspective. It's a way that we express our gifts for humanity that can evolve and change. And it's a good relationship to have it that way, even if it's harder to work for it, because it's a healthy one. If something happens to your business, you won't lose yourself. It's kind of like my mom, she always used to say, because I grew up mainly as an athlete and I didn't really explore my creative edge as much, she said, what would you do if you didn't have swimming? I was waking up at 4 a.m. swimming competitively, trying to make it to states, which I eventually did, and that was my whole identity for a life, was athlete, swimmer, like going all in. She's like, you know, if you ever got injured or something happened, like, you have to find other hobbies, like, you have to move on. It can't just be like your identity is one thing only. And I think that was a great perspective. And so the way to have, like, really get the most out of life is to be all parts of yourself that you want to express. Be all of them. There is no one way to do it. In business, it is smart to focus on like one offering, like the breathwork certification is my main thing. Doesn't mean I don't have other things. I have other things, but to really know where your focus is and allow other things to support is helpful.
I feel like I just got a PhD, like listening to you. That was fascinating.
Thank
You hit so many levels of information. Like I can actually feel in my body when I haven't danced in a while. I can also feel when I haven't gone for a hike in a long time or been in nature.
Yes.
And then I haven't played, I haven't laughed. And I also teach middle school students currently. Yeah, Linview. But I think that they can also feel it, right? Today I was talking with my students about loving them, and one of the students was standing up and I gave him a giant hug and I was like, yes, I love you. I love all of you. And they were like, what are you talking about? And they found it really odd that this woman's like giving them a hug the first day of school. Now we've been together for several months, so they're used to me, right? Telling them I love you every day. But yeah, I think that's so true about like, as long as you're wearing your love, it doesn't matter what role you have, podcast, teacher. Yeah, that's so interesting. And I can find when I am burning myself out on work and just pushing into that regard. I think at Coachella last year, like Tyler, the Creator, was talking about how it's easier to become a workaholic because then I avoid these other parts of my life. Oh, don't have that relationship part, I think is what he was referring to. So I'm going to bend into the workaholic. So yeah, really understanding like, why are we doing what we're doing? Or when are we missing out on like that other aspect of ourselves? Oh, I need to dance. That's going to help flourish me further.
Yes,
Yeah.
I really agree with what you just said. Like, workaholism is easy in many ways, and many people choose it. It makes you feel successful, makes you feel worthy, but really you're missing out on all these relationships. And oftentimes those type of people, what they want most is intimacy, and what they fear most is emotional intimacy. Like they want that, but they're afraid of that. It's so scary to risk that, the vulnerability, the authenticity, but it's also the most rewarding. And I had to take a lot of those risks with my family in the post breathwork integration. It's like I would do the breathwork, do the healing. It's like, okay, now the hard part is actually having a relationship and like creating the emotional intimacy so that I didn't feel like my parents were like so far away. Like, I have to show them what I'm made of. Like, they're so far away. Instead, just create that closeness. And we don't necessarily talk more frequently, but I feel more close. It's a feeling. Like, I know that anything I need, I can talk to them in a different way. There's a different bond there. One of the things that I want to share, this is actually the last chapter of my book. This was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. So in November of last year, I got the news that my cousin unexpectedly passed away. He had some heart issues, was in the hospital, and my sister called me and said, I've never seen Dad so distraught. Like, he's really ruined. Like, he cannot even talk without wailing on the phone. This was one of his favorite nephews, and I think it really troubled him thinking about someone younger than him, leaving this planet Earth before him. Didn't see it coming at all. And that cousin was also right about to start his entrepreneurial dream of opening a barber shop in Puerto Rico. Him and his dad had worked on it for a year, like
Wow.
painting, replacing the windows, like got all the chairs. It was about a month away from being ready when he got sick. And it was really a tough situation. And when my dad told me about this, I was like, can I come to the funeral? He's like, oh, I know you're busy. Like, oh, you really don't have to. And at first I thought, oh, he doesn't want me there. Like, I'm going to be a burden. I'm going to take away from him being with his family. But then when I got clear, I'm like, I want to be there, but I feel like I just named it. Like, I feel like you don't want me to be there, but I need to be there. Like, I would love to be there if it's okay with you. Of course, it's your choice. He's like, no, I just don't want to put the pressure on you. Like, I don't want you to feel obligated. So I'm like, I want to go, so I'm coming. And I came, and I told my family about breath work and that's mainly what I've been doing. Something I love about my Puerto Rican family is they never have asked, like, what I do. They don't care. There's no worthiness. There's no comparison. It's just like, Adrienne's here. Yay, let's celebrate her. There's just complete embodiment of unconditional love. So I've always felt at home with my Puerto Rican family. And the last night, they were like, we really need some breath work. They had done the rosary every night after the funeral to really, like, yeah, they're very religious, very Catholic. And the rosary helped, but there was still a whole lot of unprocessed emotions in their body. And so then I said, yes, we can do a breath work. And of course, all the thoughts going through my head of like, my Spanish isn't perfect enough. Like, how am I going to lead this in Spanglish? And I was like, whatever, surrender control. This is what God, Spirit, Universe wants from me. And I asked my parents, I'm like, hey, you know, people go a lot deeper when they're space holders. I call space holders the people that are there energetically present, observing, holding space, sometimes offering hands-on support, sometimes just being a loving witness, just being there so that people feel held in a container. And so I said, would you be open to supporting me? And I gave them a little crash course in energetics, energy protection, things like that. And so I led the breath work with my parents there, and it was the most spiritual experience of my entire life. And what's wild is that I see my abuelos, my Puerto Rican grandma and grandpa, they passed away, but I see them in my mind's eye often helping in breath work. But this last chapter is about like leading breath work with my alive angels. I'm like, I see my parents, they are alive right now, but one day they won't be here, and I may still be leading breath work, and they will actually be angels. Like, how cool is this that I'm having this experience now while we're all human and they can feel this. They really felt the power. And even my dad, he said, you know, I've gone to your breathwork so many times. It got me through COVID, but I never really knew the power of breathwork until seeing what you did for my family. And ever since then, like, that was really the pivotal moment where I'm like, okay, we are so close. Like, we are close on a spiritual level. And my parents just get it, you know? And times change. My dad's retired. He's less stressed about work. He's more so seeing that the meaning of life is love as well, and we're on the same vibration. And I think oftentimes when we want to have a deeper relationship with our family, we can't push it. We can't force it. We can't try to make it into something. We just have to put effort into being present and being love, and notice where opportunities show up, like this opportunity to lead breathwork for my family, and be there when you feel the call, and you will never regret it. That was something where I'm so glad that I went, and it was a really beautiful moment, life-changing for sure.
I think it's great too that in that communication with your parents at the very beginning, maybe our ego or that first hit of their ideas is like, well, I don't know if you have the time to come. I don't want to busy you. And so you're thinking, oh, maybe he doesn't want me there. But you like pushed past the assumption, and then we're brave enough to just voice it and say, do you not want me to go? Because I would like to go. And then it just became about communication. Oh no, I want you there. And then because you're there, you get to experience this huge breath work with your whole family, and they get to bear witness to your gift. And also, like, your parents, like you're saying, like, we don't have to wait until that person has passed away or talk about them kindly later. Like, we can do this right now. Like, we're together right now, and my parents are seeing my gift, and they're seeing how it's affecting others. Is a lot of the healing that you found for yourself, from like the eating disorder to fully loving yourself, did it have to do with acceptance of yourself and going all the way back to family? Like, I've studied a lot about different cultures and like healing and love, and like the Maori traditions are that any kind of issues we have, shopping, food, alcohol, it really all stems back to like loving ourselves and really like forgiving ourselves. So does a lot of that come back to childhood, or just misunderstanding, misinterpretation? I don't want to blame my family. I don't know.
You know,
How did you find
I love the word in like misinterpretation for this, because my views have changed so much on my childhood because of breath work. And that's why I think that doing breathwork sessions, going deep, integrating, living your life, actually having a relationship with your parents and moving on, that really helps. Because if you were to ask me even like 7 years ago, hey, how was your childhood? I'll be like, oh, it was so hard. Like, and I could tell you all the struggle. And I remember the way that I used to talk about it. And I remember the things that used to trigger me. But now it's like, my childhood was great. And like, I'm not in a like disillusion. Like, I remember how hard it was, but the things, I understand. Like, people are human. It was fine. I had to go through some hardships, but what came out on the other side is so beautiful that I don't even think about my childhood has hardships anymore. I think what helped me with the eating disorder to get to the root cause was to see what I was using food for. And it started back in high school when I had no other coping mechanisms. I hadn't found breath work. I hadn't found anything. And I was so stressed out because, they tell you, you got to get into the perfect college or else you'll never make it in life. Oh my goodness, that's the furthest thing from the truth. Even the people that I hire to work for me, I don't care if they went to college. I have no idea who on my team went to any college. I have no idea what degrees they have. Like, I hire based on personality, the fit, the culture, their skill sets. College really does not matter. But anyways, I did not know that. I wish someone had told me that because I was trying way too hard, way too stressed out. And yeah, there was a lot of triggers, but really I think the root cause that I didn't know then, but I could see now, is that it wasn't really the food, like a food addiction. It was the voice that was created in my head. And when people have eating disorders, the voices can sound two ends of the spectrum. I had a very loving voice, like, oh, it's okay, just have another cookie. Oh, it's fine, just like eat the rest of the gallon of ice cream. Like, oh, it's okay. And it was very loving. And what I wanted was my mom to be there like, honey, it's okay. I feel that you're so stressed about school and where you're going to college. Like, it's okay. Like, I needed someone to say that, but I never got those words. And I was not getting that for myself because I had no idea what self-love was at the time. And so the things that really helped were breath work. There was a moment on my first breathwork retreat where I had a cacao ceremony and I started crying because the way that they said, like, breathe your intentions into the cup of cacao, listen to the cacao. I was like creating this relationship with this thing before I was able to consume it. And it was so sacred and I was crying. It was like, I've never been so intentional with food before consuming something. And it made me realize I do have control. And it is sacred, it is special, and it just completely shifted everything. And then the third was having a really supportive, loving husband. We've been together for 10 years now. When we first got together, I was like at the tail end of it, and I was open, and I told him, hey, I'm kind of like finishing up, struggling with this binge eating disorder. And I just told him, like, just make sure I never have to like hide food or feel like I need to eat in secrecy, because that's where it thrives, in secrecy. And growing up, I felt like I was wrong for eating candy or anything. I'm like, just allow me to eat anything I want to, whenever I want to, in front of you, and don't say anything, and let me eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. Sounds good?
Yeah.
And so he did all of that, no triggers. And like I felt that manifesting him, Darren, showed me how to love myself. He is the most loving man in the world. And I didn't really know how to love myself until I saw how he saw me. I'm like, oh wow, like I can see myself that way too. So yeah, it really was a journey of self-love. I do think that many times it is a combination of things. Many times things do stem from childhood. I do have a degree in psychology. They talk about the developmental years, ages 0 through 8. But I think that also gets too much hype, because I've seen people go through much bigger struggles later on in life.
Yeah.
And that's just as hard.
I think in the 80s and 90s, when there were a lot of talk shows starting, it was a big kick as far as psychologists coming on and talking about our younger years. And I remember my Nana's from Canada, and she was very shocked that, like, oh, these Americans, they just really drag out all of their stuff and talk about everything. But it also kind of held us in a way to talk about our families, and really letting that go and getting into our present life rather than reflecting back all the time can help us like move with that momentum. You brought up so many other pivotal points as well, like because I've been teaching like high school and middle school students, I've seen a very positive shift as far as I'm really mindful too of talking to them about, you don't have to choose just one career for the rest of your life. That's a fictitious thing that also happened a lot in the 80s and 90s, which is not fault. It's just, it makes sense that a lot of baby boomers and the generation before them held a job for 30 years, right? Although that's a little fictitious too when we think of like the Great Depression and change having to happen. But I see a lot of difference in the youth today because they are free from feeling like they have to go to college. A lot of them have been taking gap years. A lot of them are going to a community college and really looking at, why should I spend that much? Questioning things that I'm 45. Our generation did not question that at all. We were just told to do this thing. But I also see a lot of information that they are gaining and ways that they're able to talk about, like, hey, I feel triggered right now, I've had some trauma, or I want to experience this or that. And how you're talking as a younger entrepreneur of, I don't even know what school the people went to that I'm hiring, that we're shifting into this realm of what really matters is you, the person, your soul. And if you're good, you feel good to be around, and how can we bring that energy, that goodness, and create together, and that magic. And so I think even the way we're able to talk is freeing us from some of those old thoughts too. But yeah, that's really beautiful to see how you're shifting in, and how like the world, I think, is also moving in that regard too. More
It's an
healing, I
exciting
think.
time because
Yeah.
it is so disempowering to think like the the college you go to determines the quality of your life and the pay and all of that. Like, no, you really can create whatever life for yourself you want to. And entrepreneurship, I'm very grateful for, because I do believe that anyone can become an entrepreneur. And with that, you can make whatever amount of money you want to. One of my business coaches who offers an older perspective, he's 50 years old and very old school in everything that he does. He's barely on social media. He asks me the question that no other mainstream business coach would ask. Most mainstream business coaches would ask, how much money do you want to make? Like, what's your goal and dream? He asks, how much money do you really need? And that's a weird question, because at first you think it's limiting. But then he's like, well, what else do you value? Like, do you really need the numbers that people are saying? You know, at first it's 10K months, 20K months, 50K months, 100K months.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do with all that? Like, do you really even need it? And he's a lot about just like live your life. Like, you don't need to go above and beyond, and no one's ever going to make you stop. So as an entrepreneur, like, you have to have the one to say, I'm taking the weekends off. I'm taking a vacation. You know, I'm not working after 6 p.m. or 5 p.m., whatever it is. You really have to have those boundaries for yourself and prioritize your life and everything else that you do. And I think that that's a good perspective too. Yeah, there's so much possibility for everyone. You really can create the path for you, and you can pivot.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up with a lot of entrepreneurs in my family, and so I did see a little bit of like maybe at the tilted scale of not work-life balance, right? Like at dinner, we were used to phones ringing because they had to pick it up for a client or whatever, but really finding that balance, right? Like, why am I doing this? What freedom am I doing it for? How did you decide to be an entrepreneur? Where, like, I saw that in my family. Where did you get that drive and think, you know what, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be in the driver's seat. I'm gonna take this on myself. I'm going to create my own path.
This is a great question. I feel that I was an entrepreneur before I knew what that was. My first little hit, like looking back, where I'm like, oh yeah, like that was totally entrepreneur Adrienne, was back in 12th grade. I was really getting into triathlons. My science teacher was like, Adrienne, you're a great swimmer and you run. You should do triathlons. And she really inspired me. And so after I did like 2, I was hooked and wanted to create a club that was like a triathlon club, but we also did good. Again, this is before I knew anything about money, anything about jobs, anything about anything. I don't think I had, besides my birthday money for my grandma, I didn't have anything at this point in the bank account. And so I created this club team called Try for the Cure. And we planned this event that makes me think about the events that I plan now in business. And I got everyone involved. I got the drama kids to be the actors for a commercial. I got the media kids to like film this commercial. I got everyone involved, and we had this advertisement, like before I even knew what a commercial really was, like what is the purpose of an advertisement. I just thought all this would be cool. And basically we had this funny little skit shown to the entire school of like, hey, join us on this date. We're gonna raise money for the Loudon Free Health Clinic, and you can be a part of it. You can bring your team together and do some laps around the track, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. So I totally winged it. I went for it. I remember the meetings were so chaotic without a plan. I had no leadership skills. I remember going to those meetings and looking at my team and thinking, okay, everyone, so what do you all think that I should do? I had no idea about a delegation, but I had the passion and the drive, and I knew I was going to do it, and I believed in myself. And so we raised $1,000 with high
What?
schoolers money. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
think parents donated
Wow.
for the Loud and Free Health Clinic. And that was like $1 million in my mind. I'm like, what is happening? And I remember feeling so proud. So that's a moment looking back where I felt like an entrepreneur. And I love that story because it wasn't for me. I got no money. I got no benefit. I just wanted to do it. And I do believe that we are successful when we feel that drive and when we follow that call. So to answer the real question,
That's cool.
I manifested a job where I was working for a 40-year-old entrepreneur who was making bank, and it was just me and another girl. And I'm like, well, this isn't your typical office job. We were in an office, we did clock in, we did have computers and all of that. But I started thinking like, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And then I started getting ads, and what made me start my business was a Sterling Griffin ad where I was also doing personal training and fitness coaching on the side. And it was one of those cheesy things that worked in like, I don't know what year this was, but back in the day, these ads worked where it was like, hey, are you a wannabe entrepreneur who wants to make 6 figures online as a fitness coach without even needing a website?
Yeah.
Book a call.
Mhm.
And it totally worked on me. However, I will say that I did not sign up at first. After that first call, I remember feeling so deep in my lack of worthiness, looking to my boyfriend at the time, now husband, and saying, oh, I want to do this thing. It's like $5,000, but you don't think I should spend the money, right? That would be ridiculous. I was basically putting words in his mouth because looking back, I didn't want to take responsibility that I didn't believe in myself. That if I
Trying
was
to
going to
help him
invest,
give you the out. Yeah.
yes, like, oh, well, my husband told me no. Like, oh, well, it wasn't me.
Even the way
It's a
you
lot
ask him
easier.
that question, like, right? You're gonna give me that answer, right? So I can step
Exactly.
away from it. Uh-huh.
I didn't have to take any responsibility. And so then I thought about it. I had this burning desire to start my own fitness coaching business, and I thought about it for almost an entire year. I had to go back into the junk drawer of my dresser and find my old iPhone and scroll back and see what was that guy's name who texted me before the call. And I reached out to him and was like, hey, I gotta sign up for this program. I've been thinking about it for a year. And I went back to Darren and I said, you know that thing that I told you was too expensive? I'm gonna do it and it's gonna be worth it, and watch me succeed, and I don't wanna lie to you. I need your support. And he was like, great. And of course I thought, wait, what? It was that easy? All I had to do was believe in myself and he would support that? But I'm glad I waited in some ways because I needed to believe in myself, and I was successful in that program. But also part of me is like, why didn't I just believe in myself sooner? Everyone here listening, if you are struggling with worthiness, please do breathwork. If I had found breathwork sooner, I would have definitely been in a place of knowing that I can succeed and not caring what other people think.
Oh, that's a good point. Right. I was finishing a job at a publishing company in Colorado, and then I was bidding for a job in San Francisco. It was right around like the 2008 crash time. And so I was like in my second round of interviews, but then I started having these trickling thoughts of, oh, I don't know if you'll be good enough. Why would they hire someone in Colorado when they're in San Francisco? They could just hire someone there. And then the next day I got a call and I was out. But it was a great lesson for myself because I knew in that moment you gave up before the call came. And so later on, here I am living in California because I ended up finding a job in teaching and going here years later. But I was like, oh, it's still that dream of California helped. I found it eventually. But it helped me to know, like, hey, you gave up on that dream, but you didn't believe in yourself, and like hold that. Remember to keep holding on to that dream. Oh, that's really cool.
So many people, they stop before because of the own limitations that they put on the situation because of their mind, rather than just trying. You don't know until
Yeah.
you try. Go for it and you'll be surprised.
Yeah. I would say that for my podcast as well, it took several years that I was like, well, I'm teaching the students how to do it, so I'll learn. Well, I'm busy working with the students, and then this year I was like, just start it. Even if it's not perfect, even if you don't know everything. So I researched a few like platforms to use, but I'm really learning. I'm learning how to edit. I'm learning how to cut and film. I'm learning how to add things on. But also, like you had mentioned with learning the Oracle deck, I'm learning as I go, and I don't know all of it. But I also am not intimidated by that now because I know how to talk gently to myself about like this is a fun experience, and if it's not fun, then stop. But if it but don't let it intimidate you. Just keep going and like create that space in your day where you're open to learning so that I'm not frustrated, right? And like, and before I sit down with the computer, if you're older, this might help with tech audience, but talking gently to myself, like, you'll be able to learn this technology, you can understand it. So yeah, I think all of that is like gently loving ourselves and staying in that space of love. I feel like this has been amazing. I feel like this is like a TED Talk part 2 because audience, she has also been in a TED Talk as well. There's so much about you that's beautiful, but I think it really does show that you are open to the yes and experiencing everything like we've talked about. Is there anything else? I know you've been on this call with me for an hour, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but is there anything else you think that our audience should know about breathwork? And then we can get into how to contact you as well. But everything you've spoken about so far, it makes sense, right? If we're able to breathe and take that moment of clarity, things become clear. We can find our answers from within. I feel like even on this call, you're reminding me of when I was in breathwork with you. I feel lighter and brighter just talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I love this so much. I think my last message is always to remind people that you have everything you need in your breath. Keep trying breath work. I know I get a lot of people who come my way and they're like, but I've tried breath work and I don't like it. Come to my breath work anyways, like you haven't experienced mine. Please do. And if you don't like my breath work, don't give up. Go to someone else, find the style that resonates with you. I do think that you will love it. But still, there's so many styles, so many different mentors. Find the one that's right for you, because otherwise you are like not using the one tool that's within us at all times. And in an evolving world with AI and all the things, we have all these gadgets to heal ourselves, but what about the most natural thing that's underneath our nose this entire time, which is our breath? So it's coming back to the basics, just like nature is the most powerful thing. Coming back to the basics. We have everything in nature to heal us. Coming back to the basics. There's nothing revolutionary out there, but it can feel revolutionary when you connect with yourself through breathwork. So for anyone here listening, if you go to breathofgold.com/Sunday-breathwork, you can register for my next Sunday breathwork for free. It's from 5:30 to 7 Pacific time. And if you've never experienced my breathwork before, and you're finding me through Tess, send me a little message and I'll hook you up with a month for free as well, because I know a month in there for free, you will have your life changed.
You will have your life changed. Look, only in 2 sessions, many people have changed their life. So you get a month? That's incredible.
I know. You literally get double the time. And I hope you stay forever too.
And if I already have experienced breathwork, but I want to get some coaching from you, maybe I want to become a breathwork coach, you offer that as well, right?
Yes. For anyone here who loves breathwork and you're really wanting to support people in getting deeper results, that is the main offer that I have. It is the Breathwork Facilitator Program. You can book a call. It's on our website, breathofgold.com, and that is a fabulous journey where you go deeper on your own personal healing experience through breathwork, but then you also learn how to become an incredible facilitator. And a lot of the skills we teach are about really how to hone your voice and find your uniqueness. So it really is self-discovery. Who are you as a person? And I coach you into finding that voice that all of us have, dusting it off the shelf and making it brighter. So many people become better speakers, they speak on stage. Really, it's the art of facilitation, because anyone can lead breathwork and say inhale, exhale. But what creates an amazing breathwork facilitation is the voice, the ability to channel, the ability to spiritually connect. It's a whole recipe, and you're doing it all at once, which is very exciting for people with ADHD who love creation and like doing a bunch of things at once. It really is an art form to facilitate breathwork, and you get to witness so many people change their lives. It's the most rewarding career. So if you think you might be interested in a career change, or you're a therapist, you're a coach, you're wanting to add something to your business to get people better results, I highly recommend booking a call and exploring that further too.
And that reminds me as well, like when we're talking about like AI and technology and all this stuff coming in, as those robotics come in, it does free us to be in these other realms, to let go of those like menial tasks, and now we're a facilitator, I'm a creator, I'm juggling all of these 12 different jobs, but I'm able to put all of this together and help support. This is more giving us more meaning, right? Like a deeper depth, so we don't have to worry about like robots or finding it. Like I use the AI in my show notes for my podcast. That's awesome. It's secretarial, it's helpful. So yeah, I don't know, that sounded really cool with all of the crafting and moving and orchestrating it. It frees us to have those beautiful creative jobs or moments in life.
I completely agree. Like we need to use AI to do the things that are taking us away from the things that we love. And in a world of AI, people are going to want more human connection. They're going to want more self-connection, more spiritual connection. So I do think that the world of breathwork is growing and expanding rapidly because of that.
Yeah, I do too. So that's a great way of looking at, like, as our technology comes in, we have already combated, there's no need to fear, because we are also pushing, I can feel it, a spiritual vibration of charge. Like it's also equating. And I feel like we are gathering in a higher realm with that. Okay, so we can find you on Instagram. I stalk you all the time. It's so incredible to see where you're up to. Dancing, marathon.
I am going to dance later today. So excited.
You're helping me, reminding me to dance. I had surgery on my shoulder in October, so now I'm no longer in a sling. I'm doing PT, but I'm able to move my body more. And so I've been missing certain things. So I'm like, oh, I have to get back to my dancing. So we can find you on Instagram. Is there any other platforms that you want me to put in the links so that the audience can find you?
Yeah, Instagram, Adrienne Rivera Coaching is the main one that I use. We also have Breath of Gold as that handle. If you want to send me an email, adrienne@breathofgold.com is great. I love connecting with people, and I'm also a big voice note person, so send me a voice note on Instagram. Let me know what you loved about this. Would love to meet you and connect.
Awesome. All right, audience, you've heard it here, so get on it. You get a month of free breath work. I would love to hear in the comment section after you do this how you feel. So let us know like what pivotal moments you have experienced after the breath work. I'm signing up too. Come on.
We'll see you there. Yes. Thank you so much for having me.